What if I told you that your favorite car brand is on the brink of undergoing one of the most radical transformations in automotive history? The shift to fully electric vehicles is no longer a far-off dream. It is happening right now, and it is reshaping the future of mobility. Major automakers, some of which have been iconic figures in the automotive world for decades, are committing to phase out internal combustion engines entirely within the next decade. This seismic shift, driven by government regulations, environmental concerns, and consumer demand for cleaner alternatives, will not only transform the way vehicles are powered, but also have profound implications for the automotive industry, consumers, and the environment. In this analysis, we will take a deep dive into the electric revolution, examining the opportunities and challenges it presents. We'll explore the nuances of this transition. Several major car brands have committed to going fully electric in the coming years, with notable pledges from Volvo, General Motors, and Jaguar. These automakers have announced ambitious plans to phase out gasoline and diesel engines entirely by 2030 or sooner, marking a clear pivot toward electric propulsion. This shift is part of a broader industry-wide transformation driven by global environmental goals, stringent emissions regulations, and changing consumer preferences. As governments worldwide set stricter carbon reduction targets and pledge to make cities more sustainable, automakers have no choice but to evolve. On the surface, these pledges from major brands like Volvo, General Motors, and Jaguar may seem like an exciting glimpse into a cleaner, greener future. However, the reality of this transition is far more complex. The transition from internal combustion engines to electric motors and batteries involves not only technological advancements, but also cultural and infrastructural changes that will impact both automakers and consumers. For automakers, the shift to EVs presents a significant challenge. Established car brands are making major investments in electric vehicle technology, creating new manufacturing processes, and overhauling their supply chains to accommodate the unique needs of EVs. The stakes are high, and the future of these companies is inextricably tied to their ability to successfully pivot to a world where electric vehicles are the dominant force. But what does this mean for consumers? How will this shift affect the cars they drive, the prices they pay, and the way they interact with the automotive world? And most importantly, will the transition to electric vehicles truly be a net benefit, or will it create new challenges for buyers? For car buyers, the transition to fully electric lineups presents both exciting opportunities and significant challenges. One of the key advantages of EVs is their lower operating costs. Electricity is generally cheaper than gasoline, and EVs have far fewer moving parts than their internal combustion counterparts. This means less wear and tear on components such as engines and exhaust systems, leading to fewer repairs and maintenance costs. Additionally, the reduced need for oil changes and other routine services can save consumers a substantial amount of money over the lifetime of the vehicle. From an environmental perspective, electric vehicles produce fewer emissions during their operation, while the environmental impact of manufacturing EVs, particularly the extraction of raw materials for batteries, is still a concern. EVs do not emit pollutants during use. As the power grid becomes greener and more renewable energy sources are used to generate electricity, the environmental footprint of EVs will continue to decrease. Governments are also incentivizing EV adoption, offering subsidies, tax breaks, and perks to encourage consumers to make the switch. These incentives can lower the upfront cost of purchasing an electric car, which, despite falling battery prices, remains a significant hurdle for many buyers. As more countries introduce policies that make EV ownership more affordable, electric cars will become increasingly accessible to a wider range of consumers. However, the shift to electric vehicles is not without its challenges. One of the main obstacles for potential EV buyers is the higher upfront cost of electric cars. Even with government incentives, EVs tend to be more expensive than their gasoline-powered counterparts, primarily due to the high cost of batteries. The price of EV batteries, which can range from $5,000 to $15,000, adds a substantial premium to the overall cost of the vehicle. Another challenge is the limited charging infrastructure, particularly in rural areas. While urban centers have seen a proliferation of public charging stations, rural and remote areas often lack sufficient charging options. This makes long-distance travel by EVs more complicated, as drivers must plan their routes carefully to ensure they have access to charging stations. Furthermore, the cost of installing a home charging station can be prohibitive for some consumers, particularly if they live in apartments or rental properties where installing charging infrastructure may be difficult or impossible. One of the most pressing questions is whether EVs will truly become accessible to all consumers, or whether they will remain a luxury for the affluent. While prices are expected to decrease over time, the initial cost barrier may prevent some buyers from making the switch. Will EVs be affordable for average consumers, or will they continue to be out of reach for a significant portion of the population?